Well, greetings, fact hunters. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, but you have to accept it, is to find me facts about 007 James Bond, please. 30 minutes, the clock is ticking. Be here soon. Hello, welcome back to the Big Fact Hunt. Today, I have challenged my three top agents with finding the best facts they can about the one and only person who has been played by many actors, James Bond. Oh, exciting. And we're going to kick this off alphabetically. Jen, take it away.
Right, I'm going to shamelessly pander to my audience, and
Right.
my fact is that James Bond has two birthdays, which are the same birthday.
What? Explain that. That's amazing.
One James Bond biographer, because you can be a biographer of a fictional character.
Yeah.
One biographer gives his birthday as the 11th of November 1920, and the other biographer gives his birthday as the 11th of November 1921.
Oh.
So he has two birthdays, but they're the same birthday. So notably, obviously, the 11th of November is Armistice Day. So the thread of war runs very much through his sort of personal biography.
That makes one of the versions of James Bond 100, and the other one is 99, which is from Get Smart.
Get
Another
Smart, a parody of James Bond.
Brilliant.
But so I looked up who also has his birthday, because I was thinking about Sam.
Gee, this is great.
First of all, I just need to point out that according to the prophecy, Thursday's child has far to go, and James Bond was born on a Thursday. So he travels around the world a lot, which is important to note.
Yeah.
So if he was born in 1920, he shares his birthday with the French and English tombs of the unknown soldiers, Irish Home Rule, and Lieutenant General Walter Krapinski, a German fighter ace pilot who downed 197 aircraft in World War II.
Whoa!
If he was born in 1921, he shares his birthday with the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington in the United States of America, as well as Poppy Day in the UK, and Terrell Bell, the only non-war related person in this list of birthdays, who was the second US Secretary of Education, who was born on that day in Lava Hot Springs.
What?
As a throwback to last week's episode.
How did she know we were going to do that podcast episode 100 years ago?
Last week.
It's all coming together.
I feel like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, like they probably opened it that day as a sort of remembrance thing, but
no, they built the whole thing in one day. It was really impressive.
But that's how you get the cake in. You got to get the cake in.
Yeah, love it.
They've got all those guys standing around with swords. You've got to bring in a cake, otherwise they're just going to start stabbing people.
Yeah. What else? And they can use that to cut it. It'll be lovely.
Yeah, like the Queen does. She always cuts a cake with a big old sword.
Nathan Kenny, give us a fact, please.
Friend of the podcast, Roald Dahl,
Great.
actually has a bit of history when it comes to James Bond. So not only did he write the screenplay for You Only Live Twice, he also, so Ian Fleming, the guy who wrote the James Bond books and came up with the concept of James Bond, wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Yeah.
It's a very different film, Kenny, that he did not write.
Yeah.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang he wrote.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang he wrote.
Yeah.
And Roald Dahl also adapted that for screen. So yeah, lots of ways to go bang bang with Roald Dahl and
They're both very versatile writers, aren't they? To be able to write James Bond and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and then Roald Dahl to be able to write Matilda, James and the Giant Peach Boy, and then adapt Bond and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's quite impressive.
Kenny, you know I'm a writer. Great fact. Jen, your turn again. Kidding, Tom. It's you now.
James Bond was once beaten by Barbra Streisand.
Tell us more. That's great.
Is it a straight up fist fight?
She beat the shit out of them.
It's
actually
a singing competition.
It's in the movie Live and Let Die, and she's the one who lives and lets him die. It's pretty brutal. No, I mean it is Live and Let Die. The famous song written by Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die, epic song.
Da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum.
It was nominated. It was one of the first Bond movies, Bond songs to be nominated for a Academy Award for Best Original Song, but lost the award to Barbra Streisand's "The Way We Were."
Were none of the Shirley Bassey ones nominated for Best Original Song?
No.
Goldfinger.
I do know a fact about James Bond. I won the best song for James Bond for Spectre. I mean Sam Smith. It's the worst James Bond song. Like
I genuinely don't think I've ever heard it.
It's called The Writings on the Wall, which is graffiti, which is illegal. He should be in prison. They should be in prison. Sorry, correct myself.
So, Tom, having mentioned that fact, now everyone will know it more, thus it being an example of the Streisand effect.
Exactly.
So true.
Yeah.
What's the Streisand effect?
It's trying to make something not known, or trying to cover something up, makes people like pay more attention to it.
She was trying to hide the location of her beach house. There were pictures of it published.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson did this last week, or the week before, with a story in the Times and the Daily Mail about him hiring his then mistress to a cabinet post, and not a cabinet post, to a role in his department. And they spiked the story. It still made it into some of the early print editions of the Times, but they spiked the story, and then everyone just started talking about how the story had disappeared, and it was everywhere. It was amazing.
I'd just like to point out that, Jen, you are not giving away when we filmed this, because Boris Johnson having affairs is just a...
Nathan Kenny, please.
So I'd like to hearken to another friend of the podcast, Sam Neill, great Kiwi actor.
Sir Nigel Neal, as of now.
He screen tested for Bond.
He would have been
and-
so good.
And everyone liked it except for Broccoli, like the executive producer guy, who has an awesome name as well.
Yeah.
And so he didn't get any further. But he says he would have turned it down anyway. But it was for The Living Daylights, and that's the role that eventually went to Timothy Dalton.
He would have been so much
The
better.
most forgettable Bond.
And the video's online, and you can see clips of Sam Neill lovingly shooting people and stuff.
Jen, point of order. I think Lazenby much more of a forgettable person than Timothy Dalton.
I had forgotten about George Lazenby.
Yeah, great. Thomas Adams, please.
There is only one James Bond who was ever the right age to be James Bond.
Explain that.
So there have been many actors who have played James Bond over the years. Sean Connery was 31, I believe, when he first got the role. I think Roger Moore was 29. But James Bond became James Bond 007 when he was 38. And there was only one actor, Daniel Craig, who was 38 when he took on the role.
Wow, that's great.
That's so cool.
Daniel Craig, 38. I'm 36. That means in 2 years' time, I could be James Bond.
Do you think Idris will be ready to hang up the tux by then?
Oh, he's not getting it. I always thought it'd be great if Will Smith was James Bond, because then he could sing his own theme song.
Getting Jimmy with it. No.
I was thinking more Men in Black, but yeah.
No, getting jiggy with it is his...
Change it to Man in Black so that you can put it in a bid for Best Original Song again. Because in the novels, he doesn't age.
What?
A lot of strange things happens in the novels, though.
Yeah. That's probably not the least explicable thing.
A lot of strange non-PG things.
Can you name 3 of those things?
I can't tell you what he described the servants cleaning. He described them as with the slow, deliberate pace of coloured labour. He thought that lesbians were only lesbians because they'd had bad experiences with men. Yeah. Famously, he thought the gay men couldn't whistle.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I mean, would have been cancelled pretty quick, I think.
But all of the Bond books are out of copyright now, and you can download them for free if you want to read like 1950s Penny Dreadful type.
Yes, I do.
Hell yeah.
And like there's things that you wouldn't expect. Like you see in From Russia with Love, you have Vesper. Is it Vesper Lynn, the first female lead? You get from her perspective just before she dies, and like he writes in other people's perspectives, and you don't just see Bond's worldview. If Idris Elba is cast as Bond, could he be cast as Bond in the 1950s Bond films?
No.
Just to get the juxtaposition.
Yeah.
The whole point of Bond is that if you're middle-class white man who can pretend that you're sophisticated and upper class, you can get anywhere in life. And as Boris Johnson shows, it's still going today.
Jen, I'm taking points away for all this satire. I'm not here for satire. Yeah.
Sorry.
Never apologize to me. Jen, could I please have a fact now?
Do you want to know about James Bond's birthday?
Yes.
So the first actor to play James Bond was a guy called Barry Nelson, who starred in a televisation of one of the Bond novels, which I didn't write down, 8 years before Dr. No came out.
Whoa.
But they played him as an American James Bond, so everyone called him Jimmy.
No.
And I saw him referred to in some places as a card sense, and I don't know what that means. But he was like an American James Bond.
Oh, yuck.
And Barry Nelson was born on April the 16th, 1917, which is the same day as Betty Clay, who was Baden-Powell's daughter and led the scouting and guiding movement after her father died. It's also the birthday of the city of Urbandale, Iowa, which is Urbandale means city valley. So it's a town with a stupid name. It's also the birthday of the Charlie Chaplin comedy The Cure, which is one of the few films where he doesn't play the tramp.
Whoa.
And it's also the birthday of a bunch of Bakerloo line stations, including Bushy, Hatch End, and North Wembley, which are all just fun to say.
Imagine giving birth to a metro line. That would be quite hard.
It would be really difficult.
I want another fact from the very sexy voice of Mr. Thom Adams.
Why, thank you, sir. Fran, a Bond villain hid inside of a nail. Half a nail, actually.
Of a nail?
Yeah, so this is...
Fingernail?
No, I mean, this. Let me finish. So in the movie, the man with the golden gun, there is the bad guy Francisco Scaramanga, and he lives in as most of them seem to do, in an island, in a big rocky outcrop island, and this particular island became really, really famous, and everyone basically, no one knew about it, and suddenly everyone knew about it, and you're not allowed to really go too close to it now because you can break it. But the story behind it, so this island is called Ko Tapu. Or Kotapu, and it's this beautiful big just rocky outcrop in the middle of the it's in Thailand, and the legend behind it is that this fisherman was out there fishing, and he wasn't catching any fish. He kept catching a nail. Throw it back into the ocean, throw out the net, caught the nail again, throw it back out. Got so angry with it that he drew his sword and cut the nail in half. And the nail stuck into the ground and became the rocky outcrop that is Ko Tapu. And so that was the Bond villain hideout.
Whoa.
So
It wasn't really a
cool.
hideout when it was in that Queen song, the Scaramanga. There's the lyric, right?
Can you do this? Yeah, can you do the Fandango? Yeah.
Yeah.
They named sodium after half a nail as well.
Nah.
Nah.
Yeah.
You're not
All
keen
right.
on that? Okay, 0 points for everyone.
It's so dumb. I don't like it.
Kenny gets 1,000 points. Jen Wifer, fact please.
So I would like to talk about my favorite James Bond, which is actually James Pond.
Oh,
Which
Bubble
is-
07.
007, which is the fish-based secret agent learning educational game. That was one of only 2 games that my primary school had that we were allowed to play on the computers at school.
Isn't it on? It was on Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, it was as well. I don't know if we had one of those or if it was, I remember it being on the computer, but it might have been on a Sega
Very
that someone had in the
good.
classroom for some reason.
Very good.
Put it on the school Sega Mega Drive.
Well, one thing I found out from my wonderful husband, who I told I was looking into facts about James Pond, and he said, you have to tell them about the fact that James Pond 2, Robocod, in the UK was sponsored by Penguin Biscuits. But outside of the UK, it wasn't sponsored by Penguin Biscuits. So James Pond 2 Robocod, outside of the UK, has loads of penguins everywhere for reasons which are never explained. And loads of the challenges involve like red wrappers with blue penguins on them, but just missing the word penguin. So it was like they just removed the word penguin and all of the ad-related text from the game, but left everything else in and just released it worldwide and went, they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. And there's a supplementary fact.
Amazing.
I just want to point out that, as far as we could tell, its birthday, the birthday of James Pond, the original game, is likely the 6th of December, 1991, which means that the song that was #1 on that day was Black or White by Michael Jackson, which is especially ironic given that one of the earliest reviews noted the garishly colourful graphics of this game tend to cause eye strain. But they've just got all these wonderful like pun names. So they started off all being James Bond themed. So License to Bubble, A View to a Spill.
Surely it should be Licensed to Krill.
Well, you would think so, but I think they wanted to get away from kill. They're definitely not going for Octopussy. They've got Leak and Let Die.
Kids will think that Octopussy is about octopi. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but their parents will be like, I'm not buying you that game. But my favorite one, they were releasing James Pond films James Pond games as recently as 2011 when they released James Pond in the Deathly Shallows.
Oh, whoa, we're crossing
is
streams.
Very, very good pun.
I would have thought Goldfish Finger would have been way better.
Nathan Kenny, a fact, please.
okay, so James Bond, noted sex pest. So it started early for James Bond, and canonically, at the age of 12, so after 2 halves at Eton, which means about 9 months into the year, he got kicked out of Eton because of girl trouble. This is inverted commas, it's a quote, girl trouble with a maid, age 12. But he didn't lose his virginity until he went to Fettes College in Scotland. They went on a school trip to Paris, and at 16, he lost his V-plates. So goodness knows what the girl trouble with a maid was.
He gave her period.
Yeah, possibly.
There's a James Bond movie. I think it's whatever the one that's after GoldenEye. Tomorrow Never Dies. And that's the one with Christmas Jones in it. And he's...
Oh, yeah.
Christmas only comes once a year.
Yeah.
I thought Christmas only came once a year.
Yeah, I thought Christmas only came once a year. But the other thing he says is, I always wanted to have Christmas in Paris, which is... It's the second worst line in that little scene that they do. But yeah, it's with the Eiffel Tower in the background. So that's nice that that's a tie back to his 16-year-old self.
Apparently, so I don't know all the films very well, but apparently in A View to a Kill, he's talking about this like it was a really nice memory. And
good for him. Jennifer Jewell, my friend, could you please give us another one of your fantastic facts?
James Bond was originally designed to be an extremely dull, uninteresting man to whom things happened. And to that end, Ian Fleming decided to name him after an ornithologist, who you'll be shocked to learn was called James Bond.
Yeah.
So Fleming actually approached Bond and asked him if he could use his name, and Bond agreed. And Fleming said in return, he gave him permission to name some particularly horrible species of bird after Fleming, which I thought was actually really sweet. He could have just taken the name and been like, sucks, I'm using your name. But he didn't. And
that's great that there's a bird out there somewhere that like shits in its own mouth or something, and it's called Ian Fleming.
Ian Fleming, just for no reason. But I looked up James Bond to try and find out if he was an extremely dull, uninteresting man to whom things happened. And actually, he was pretty cool. He had a job as a banker, but he chucked it all in, took a loan out, took himself off to the Amazon, and started discovering birds because he was just really into natural science.
Amazing.
He was a banker and he took a loan out.
Well, yeah.
Very interesting.
What's that saying about better to ask forgiveness than beg permission or something?
Yeah.
From the West Indies with a pile of cash.
Yeah.
Is how that saying finishes. Obviously.
Give the leverage there.
He's pretty good with
the West Indies or something.
Pretty good with birds, though, eh? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, so there are a couple of nods to it. So in the later James Bond films, you see Bond reading a book by the ornithologist James Bond, or there are references to birds in Cuba, which is where Bond was particularly interested, apparently. But
I like
lots
that.
of little Easter eggs.
I like that
Eggs,
a lot.
which birds lay.
Oh my gosh.
Rabbits lay Easter eggs.
Nathan Kenny, another factoid, please.
So I want to go with nominative determinism.
Right.
So there's all these great names in Pussy Galore and things like that, and running through James Bond. I find it amazing that one of the actors who played James Bond was called Roger Moore. Like, of all you'd think he was born to play James Bond with a name like that, but he was scared of guns. So he had an accident when he was young with an air rifle, and so he had hoplophobia, with an irrational. Well, it's funny you say an irrational fear of guns. I think a fear of guns is very, very rational.
Yeah.
But he didn't like guns at all.
Wow.
So despite the amazing name that just sort of he couldn't have been chosen better, really. He didn't like guns at all, and so ended up having to sort of hold them away from his face as far as he could.
Yeah.
Point them at other people.
That's
You're like Alan Rickman in Die Hard.
Yeah, that's great. I never thought. I love it when you think about someone's name and how it actually means something, like Roger Moore. And the other one that I thought about recently was Mini Driver. She's a mini driver. She drives around in a mini. That's
My
great.
mum went to school with a girl called Eileen Dover.
No.
Did she have a lot of babies?
Mr. Thomas Adams, please.
Let me tell you about a Jesus shark. So in the movie Thunderball, there's a scene with a tank of sharks, as there seems to be in most James Bond movies. And Sean Connery is swimming in there, and he gets chased by sharks. And this one kind of very iconic shot of a shark, chasing towards him. The original idea was to rather than use an animatronic one, use a dead shark attached with wires. Turns out the shark wasn't dead. Turns out the shark was still alive. Woke up, started thrashing. Other sharks, sensing an injured shark, started to attack it, and a feeding frenzy came out. And Steers, the special effects guy at the time, basically had to be pulled out lest he be eaten to death by sharks in a manner befitting a henchman.
Incredible. Ooh. That's incredible.
Jesus shark.
Jesus shark.
I thought you were going to say that the shark walked on water, which would have been incredible for two reasons.
So if this is baby shark, and this is daddy shark, what's Jesus? Jesus shark. Jesus shark.
Guys, we've got enough time for a quick round of fast facts. Nathan Kenny, give me a fast fact, please.
Oh, so Burt Reynolds is probably the most famous person to turn down James Bond as a role. But Adam West turned down James Bond. Adam West of
Batman, and Family Guy.
Wow. Exactly. Can you imagine that as James Bond?
Was this after Batman?
Yeah, after Batman. After the very self-referential, slightly humorous Batman that he played.
Incredible.
That would be great.
Incredible.
And his given reason was he didn't want a non-British actor to play Bond.
He's a good guy, Adam West.
Because he saw Barry Nelson and was like, no.
Thom Adams. I want a fast fact from Thom Adams, please.
James Bond was once had a fight at Disneyland, or Euro Disney. John Gardner's book Never Send Flowers. James Bond goes to Disneyland Paris with his girlfriend, and after shenanigans start up, the final fight happens at Euro Disneyland.
Isn't it called Disneyland Paris?
It probably was called Euro Disney then. It's called Disneyland Paris now. Yeah.
I've always wanted to have a fist fight in Disneyland Paris.
I've seen a couple of fist fights at Disneyland Paris.
I went to Disneyland Paris and Mickey Mouse was smoking a cigarette and he told me to fuck off.
So on brand, it's such trash.
Jen, we've got time for one more fast fact.
I'm hoping this is going to go down well. It's kind of shady, but I think the end result will be pleasing. Ian Fleming published twice as many Bond films dead than you have during your lifetime, Sam.
Wait, I've done 0.
No, you haven't. You wrote a book.
Oh, I thought you said Bond films.
Oh, sorry. I might have said Bond films. I meant Bond books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I wrote a book. Wait, he's published 2 books since he died.
Yep. So The Man with the Golden Gun and Octopussy and the Living Daylights, the latter part of which title I'm not surprised is constantly elided. It sounds like a really bad girl band that they'd form on Drag Race.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of those books were published after Fleming died. Like, not far. He died in 64 and they were published in 64 and 65. But still.
Right. Still, it counts. Wow, guys. Fantastic facts. I've loved it. They were all good. I enjoyed every single one of them. I loved the pandering, especially most of all. And that is why I'm giving this episode to the one and only Mr. Thom Adams for a Disneyland fact. Yeah! Disneyland Paris. Well done, Tom. I loved it. Jen and Kenny, you were both very close with your ones as well.
After that kind of sweet, sweet victory, I'm off to have a sweet, sweet whiskey. Back to you, Sam.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening and watching. And please keep checking out our lovely wee podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that junk. And we'll see you next time where our fact controller will be the one and only Mr. Thom Adams. Peace out. Bye, y'all.